Hey, what's up? This video is about the aftermath from my latest adventures. So basically, it's a follow-up on what happened on my last video, right? Which is about a run-in that I had with my employer. And so basically, as a result of this, what I realized, so this is about starting a business, but I have to give the backstory because it is a factor in it, and it kind of makes it all make sense. So it's like, as a result of that, basically the approach that I've chosen to take is to handle myself in a far more professional manner with all of my dealings with this person. Because it seems like when people get too comfortable with one another, they forget certain things, certain boundaries can get crossed. I mean, like, it's a thing on a construction site. You say, like, if you're working with a big machine, never get comfortable around it. Or even like with a hammer, with a razor blade, do not get comfortable with it. That is how you end up getting hurt. You always need to, maintain a sort of a distance. You need to be on alert. You need to be aware. You don't need to be afraid, but you need to be, consciously aware. And so I've shared before that I had a similar interaction that was unpleasant with this person, where they did the same thing. They told me that I wasn't doing good enough, when really I was like bending over backwards and I was exhausted because I was picking up their slack. And so they told me, it's like, wow, we're not really friends. I'm just a number to you. I am an asset to your business, and that is it. I'm something that is replaceable. And it gets confusing because sometimes people say, oh, hey buddy, how's it going, buddy? And they say, oh yeah, we're friends, but then their actions say otherwise. And so, and even when I lived with this person, he told me, I was like, oh, thank you for giving me a place to live. He said, well, I have my own reasons, because it keeps me local. Because if I don't have a place to live and work, I will essentially drive south. I will go to Mexico. And so he had his own interests, and he was very upfront about this. And it was the same thing when I got my last raise. He gave me a $5 raise. I was like, thank you, I really appreciate that. He said, it's just math. He's like, don't thank me, it's just math. And it's, kind of strikes you as odd, but whatever, right? And then, but still, like, I'm a personable person, and it kind of feels like it feels like friends sometimes. But then when somebody harshly criticizes you and lies to your face in order to try to protect their standpoint, and then backpedals and all this kind of stuff, it's just like, that's not how friends treat each other. Friends give each other the benefit of the doubt. They don't assume the worst about each other. Friends are friendly. It's like, it's in the name, and kind instead of harsh and mean. And like, friends aren't jerks to each other. I mean, you can be, but it's like, and it's like, this is my friend's dad. So it's like, okay, this is like the saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. This is twice. It's like, okay, I need to handle myself differently now, because that just doesn't work. I can't keep putting myself in a position where I kind of get hurt because I'm emotionally invested with this person, where it's like, because I feel like they're my friend until they behave otherwise. And so and it's not healthy because it takes time out of my day. I stewed about it for the rest of the day. It's turned into a bunch of videos and stuff like that. Like, it takes up a significant portion of my time. And I believe in, like, don't get me wrong, I believe in the process. As a result of it all is a process that I needed to go through, and I respect that. I wouldn't want to change anything about it. But moving forward, I'm going to put myself in a bit of a different position where I have taken a step back from things. So it's like, I'm not going to be going for lunch with this person anymore. There needs to be a bit of separation there, because when it gets too familiar, too close, it's like the lines get blurred, and it can be unhealthy, and it certainly has been in my experience. And so and like, yeah, just things like that. Like, I've been invited for Christmas dinner. I'm going to go because I said that I would. So I'm not going to, I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But at the same time, I'm not going to, we used to ride together when we would work out of town. Now that's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to take my own vehicle. I'm going to remain independent. I'm going to have that. I'm going to do my own thing, and be responsible for myself, and not. So then he has more freedom as well. Then he never has to think about me, and that he can always do what he needs to do, and so can I. So it's healthy, really. There's a saying, it's like work, it's something to do with like work and play, don't mix work with fun or this or that, right? I mean, and I can't remember the phrase, but it's along those lines. Business and pleasure, you got to be careful with those things, like, say, dating an employee, or or I don't know, certain things. Certainly as a yoga teacher, you do not sleep with your students, right? I mean, that is you might meet somebody, but if you did, you would have to take things very slowly, and it would have to be done in a very public way, to ensure that it doesn't look like somebody who is essentially abusing the position that they're in, taking advantage of it, because there is this inherent power dynamic between a student and a teacher. And so, yeah, it's important to have these boundaries, to have this distance, to maintain a level of professionalism, right? And so this is the thing. And so alongside all of this, something that I have learned recently, because I'm trying to figure out how to I have a document on my computer right now. It's called The Moving of the Forward in the Most Ridiculous Way, because now that I'm clean and sober, I'm cleaning up the entire mess that I've made for myself, everything that I've been procrastinating on for so many years, and things that that I need to finish. So like, don't start anything without finishing what you already started, right? Like, don't, right? And so, but also part of that is to do with business. I have an entrepreneurial mindset, and it's been daunting, this idea of thinking about business. It's like, I don't know how to do that. How am I supposed to start a business? I mean, it's weird, right? It's this thing, right? But so I wanted to start almost sort of like a yoga studio, but then I found out that is not exactly viable. So it's like, okay, well, and then, but it's like the dream isn't gone. It's like, okay, so what is viable? And it's just doing things in a different way, where I'm not exhausting my resources or getting caught up in something that I'm not ready for. The studio is a big deal, having a permanent location, whereas like it's possible to rent halls and do that, have these kind of workshops to do, to just work through studios and build a following, like there's a way to build up to that, right? And so allowing that kind of progression to happen naturally over time, rather than jumping the gun and getting caught up in something that I'm not ready for. And I don't even have the ability to do this, but I mean, I had to go through this process of learning that. And in the process though, because when I spoke to a counselor about some of these business ideas and stuff, and the fact that I am a contractor at the moment but don't really understand what that means, she set me up with an accountant. I was approved for a 2-hour meeting with a woman who could help to guide me in what I'm doing. And it's been life-changing. I have learned that I have been throwing away money left, right, and center since I've started working, essentially, because the thing is, it's like especially right now, we'll just start with now. So I've been working for somebody. My boss, he works through the local flooring company here, and then I work for him. So sometimes I used to work under the table for people. Well, this isn't the case with this job. I had to give him my SIN number, and therefore I have to pay taxes on the money that I make, right? So, okay. You have to put that money aside and things like that, but how much do you put away? I mean, you have to know these things. I mean, because come tax time, the government isn't going to give you any breaks. You're not going to. Yeah, you have to have your stuff in order, right? Or else you can get in a lot of trouble, in debt and stuff like that. And so what I've learned is that because the way that I'm working, I'm subcontracting off somebody, so I am a sole proprietor, whether I like it or not. That is the arrangement. I'm essentially self-employed. But I'm not really set up that way, and it's super important to do that. So the thing is it's dead simple. You literally go on to the gov.bc.ca website, and then look up how to register a business name. If you're using your own name, you don't even have to. I need water. You don't even have to you don't have to register a name. You can just do it in your own name, because it is essentially you are the sole proprietor. You are the person who owns the business. If you would like it to have a business name, then it's not expensive. I think $40 or something like that to register a name. I do have a name that I'm going to be using. And then you get a business number, and then you get a tax number, and then you can, and because you need that to pay your taxes, and then so aside from that, then basically you can write off everything, because the thing is, you're making money in this format, working in this way, and it's it is hugely beneficial to be set up in this way. If you're working for somebody, you work as a contractor. Because if you're just working, thinking that you're kind of you're working for a wage. I work for a wage. It is true. But I am also a contractor. So it's as a contractor, I can write off the insurance for my car, my cell phone bill. If you have a home-based office, I do believe you can write off a portion of your rent or whatever it is. And if you have that and you use it, it has to be legit. You don't want to try to pull any fast ones here. It's important to do this by the books, because if you get caught, you are not going to like the repercussions. And so don't do that, and you don't need to. Because if you have a vehicle, so I have a van, which I only use for work. I don't use it for driving, so it's like it's considered an asset. So the money that I use to fix that thing, I've been dumping money into that thing and using it for work and just paying for it all, when I could have been writing off every single thing that I've gotten done to it. Every time I've taken to the mechanic, every time I put in a new part into it, new fuel pump, a new this, a new that, right? I mean, it's just like, but instead I've been taking the receipts once the stuff is done and I throw them away like a fool, because I have no clue what I'm doing and just didn't realize because nobody told me. And that's the frustrating thing about working for some of these people. Like, I've basically, like the last couple people that I've worked for, they don't teach you the most important things that there are to know. They let you just kind of wing it and scrape by. And don't ever tell you, do this, this is how, it's super important and it makes a lot of sense and it's really in your benefit. It's ridiculous. And so that is the case. And so yeah, there's so much so for my car, you have to track your mileage, but so you have to keep note of your odometer reading, your destinations, whether it's for pleasure or personal use, and the mileage driven. But I mean, and then you get to write off your mileage and your gas. It's a portion of it, and this goes against the tax that you end up paying. And so, and also tools that you buy, gloves. You know how much money the last time I bought these gloves, they fit me really well. I spent about $100 on, because a really good pair of high cut level gloves now are about $20 a pair. So I bought 5 pairs. I've bought a lot of other pairs too, and just thrown the money away. It just disappears, and it's a work expense. It's a business expense. I'm using it for work. I use my cell phone for work. I use my car for work. I couldn't do those things without that. So it's hugely important that you're not, if you care about your finances, it takes next to nothing to set this kind of stuff up. And then when you get organized, and then eventually you do get an accountant, so that it's not such a daunting thing. But you have to have some folders where you keep receipts and you separate the months and this and that. You keep everything as organized as humanly possible. But it's like the difference between throwing away money and saving money. And it's like, I swear, I bet you I'd be 10 times richer right now. I wouldn't be in debt. I wouldn't be, I would have just handled everything so much differently in my life, specifically to do with when I had lots of money. Because I would have been in a completely different mindset if I had kind of known this stuff. But because it was over here and I didn't understand, it was obscure, and it was just too much for me. I had other things going on that I just never kind of crossed that boundary into what I needed to be doing. But it's just like, now looking back, wow, even to do with, so I'm starting a yoga business. You know how much money I've spent on yoga? My yoga mats are about $200 a piece. I go through them every few years, depending on, I take better care of them now, right? But it's just like everything is a business write-off. My yoga teacher training is a business write-off. I'm going to go back to New York in July, and that $5,000 American business write-off, because I'm starting a yoga business. I'm actually going to start 4 businesses simultaneously. Well, one of them is a nonprofit, but And there'll be more on that later. This right now, I'm just going to keep this what I'm doing to myself, and I'll talk about when it's done. But this is sort of this path that I've been on, and it's just like, wow. I had this wonderful conversation with this lady. She was so helpful, so kind. We spoke the same language, and so she was a lovely woman, and she shared all of these things with me. And she's just like, it's like, I'm a little concerned you're not writing any of this stuff down. And I just there's a big grin on my face, because I was like, I don't mean to boast, right? But it's like, I deal with like psychology, philosophy, spirituality, metaphysics, religion. Like, everything that she was saying to me was so straightforward, so simple. I was like, I don't need to write this stuff down. You're essentially just telling me to do things that I'm already partially doing, but do them right, and do things that I kind of always knew that I should be doing. So it's like, it's not hard, and if you have ever worked for some people, I've worked for some real jokers, and it's like, if they could do it, people who have like zero organization skills, or it's like, their receipts are on the floor of their truck covered in mud and coffee. It's just like, they're not even like, it's just like, if they can do it, all I'm saying is like, you can do it, I can do it, but you have to know you can do it. You have to believe you can do it. You have to choose to do it. But if you're working for money, you might as well. And then all of a sudden you realize how easy all of this is. And it's just like, wow, yeah, I don't really, because as soon as I start doing this for myself, and I realize I'm already doing this, so it's like, I better do it, or it's going to do me, right? So, okay, I'm doing it. And then once it's all set up, because I'm going to be starting a contracting business as a general contractor and a handyman and doing tree trimming, it's like, well, at that point, I might as well come up with a logo, and I might as well come up with a website. You can get AI to make websites and stuff like that on GoDaddy now. You can pay people to help you with all this kind of stuff too, which is super awesome, and I plan to do. But it's like, and then you might as well throw it up on Google, and in your area there are people who are going to be like, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that, and are going to choose the one that they feel that resonates with them. And then you're going to all of a sudden get your own jobs, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like, you're going to need employees, and you're going to be able to buy a business vehicle so that you don't have to track mileage that you use exclusively for business, and you're going to be able to write that off, and you're going to be able to put money away in RRSPs so that you don't have to pay tax on that. So like, there are all of these things that you can do, but you got to do them. And so this is what I've learned, and it's been very, very empowering. And it's all tied in with everything that I've been doing and going through and learning about and experiencing. And yeah, and so I share that with you because, man, I think we could all use a piece of that. And when I think back about, kind of coming back, so it's like, when I think back all those years of bumming around from job to job, like, you can't look at it like it was a mistake. You can't look at it like something, oh, if I could just go back with the knowledge that I have now, that's ridiculous. There's this terrible ways of thinking and looking at things. It is just like, because you don't give, you have to respect the process, but and because like, it was through working all of those different trades, all of those different jobs for all of those companies, that people where I would see how they would operate, and it's just like you could tell that they were blowing money left, right, and center, and they didn't even care. You know, they treated employees terrible, and they just wasted money on things. You know, they could tell that they were living this life, and it was just like the way that they run their business, very disorganized. But that's what I needed to see. I needed to bear witness to people, to the ways others were doing it. I needed to work all these different jobs that I wouldn't continue with, so that I would have this tremendous amount of experience, so that I could be able to be who I am now. I can be a handyman. I can do everything. I can function as a contractor, because a contractor is just somebody who is responsible for bringing a job to completion from beginning to end. You organize different trades if other people need to be involved, and you just make sure you're in communication with the homeowner or whoever it is, right? But and then, of course, you can't do all of this by yourself, but then you build a team of people and you pay them extremely well. It's just like the Richard Branson thing. You pay them, you train them well enough so that they can leave, but you pay them well enough so that they don't want to. Because not everybody wants the responsibility of starting their own business. It's not everybody's cup of tea. But if it is, oh man, I am just very, I can just sit back with a lot of gratitude right now. And it's not exactly an epiphanic moment, I'm not really looking back. I've had those times, those moments of clarity where it's like everything made sense, but it does make sense now that I look back on it as well. It's not quite an epiphany, right? But it is still like, wow, what a life.